Village board members, thank you for taking the time to watch a little preview of the new public safety building presentation. I am Matt Wolfert from Bray Architects. Joining me today from the Bray team are Mark Taylor and Andy Iverson, all other architects who will be working with the village and the Bray team on this exciting project. In these unique times that we're all going through, when we would traditionally be sitting with you in a room presenting, we found a valuable approach within a board package is to potentially give you a brief video overview. So that's what we're doing today. This isn't intended to be some super polished presentation. The goal is to really give you the information, hopefully, in an easily digestible fashion that might be easier to convey subtlety than we could do in writing. So we're going to walk through today a brief overview of the process that we have gone through to arrive where we are today, give you an introduction to the conceptual site plan that I think we're all feeling really good about. There's details to work out, but we feel like it's in a really good place in terms of function and flow and safety for users. Introduce the preliminary budget and then talk about next steps and schedule. So excited to get rolling. If one of the team members could please put the conceptual plan up on the screen, we'll use that as the backdrop. Process to date that we've gone through is we've had 6 to 10 meetings with what we're calling them the user group or our core planning team. So PD leadership, fire leadership. Matt Schenke's been very engaged in the process. Court, the municipal judge, court clerk have been involved and engaged. So all the user groups have been supporting us as we've gone through the first phase, which is needs verification and programming. So that is a process by which we have detailed and lengthy discussions and dig deep into what types, what quantities, and what sizes of spaces will be needed to make an effective and flexible police, fire, and rescue facility, not just day one, but in the years to come. So that process took a number of meetings. We transitioned from that component of the process to site analysis. So you've got a great site to work with, great access to multiple roadways. We've been working on understanding topography and grade. We've been working with the village engineer to understand what potential improvements on Broadhead are planned to make sure that we can effectively tie into those. Matt Schenke's been doing a great job working on some potential land acquisition to get us back better access to Holscher. So a lot of that work has been underway. That led to the conceptual site plan that you see in front of you. So the plan on the screen is probably version 10, which is normal and good. It means we're exploring options, we're ruling out things, we're identifying challenges and opportunities as we go through them, and we're all feeling really good about where this plan sits right now. At a high level, you can see there is shared amenities, lobbies, municipal court, training space in the core or the center of the space, flanked on the left or west side of the site by fire and rescue, and on the east by the police department. The biggest area of focus, and it's taken us a number of attempts, but we're feeling good about the separation of public access to the site from PD and fire, either arriving or departing. So you can see the public parking in the front of the building, accessed off of Broadhead Street. PD on the east with some secure parking on the east side of their building to allow them to park their personal vehicles, enter into the department safely, and then at the end of a shift do the inverse and exit back out. The rectangles on the bottom or the south of the police department block is the garage and sally port, so showing a connection there, a safe connection to get vehicles in and out of the garage itself, but also to make sure that the sally port can function safely. And then as we shift to the west, an always present challenge with volunteer fire departments are how do we separate the arriving volunteers who are moving in an urgent fashion in their personal vehicles from the departing apparatus. And thanks to great work by the PD leadership, we understand that the vast majority of the volunteers are arriving from the west. So we really worked hard to make sure that the eastbound or arriving from the west volunteers have the ability to safely access their parking. So coming onto Holscher, onto the back drive and into the fire department parking as it's labeled. They then get immediate access into the apparatus bays, which is the large space with the fire and rescue department label on it. But all of those movements are not having the fire the responding volunteers crossing paths with the departing apparatus, who will, the primary departure will be to the north out of fire and rescue. So you can envision apparatus departing to the north and making a left or a right turn onto Broadhead. And at the same time, we can have volunteers responding from the west on Holscher and into the parking. So a lot of work has been done to make sure that those movements are safe, as safe as they can be. And they allow apparatus to make a quick departure from the apparatus bays out onto Broadhead and move out into the community wherever they need to be. Other features of the site, there is some green space available left. It's labeled here programmable green space on the northwest corner of the site. That is still to be determined. Could it be a stop along a bike path with some water and repair opportunities? Is it just simply a green space? We don't know yet, but it's an opportunity to allow this site to engage at a higher level with the community as a whole. There is a space labeled event space on the south side of the shared space and court. This is really envisioned as a space when school groups come to tour the fire and rescue, to have them gather before and after a tour. It could be a space when you have a large multi-jurisdictional training event that happens, where they break out for lunch and it's a nice day. They can step outside and grab a bite to eat and get some fresh air. And similarly for PD, whether it's a place for the officers to grab lunch or a space for student tour groups or Boy Scout groups to gather, are really just looking at providing some flexible outdoor space on the south side to support all the functions that happen in the tours and the access to support community outreach that happens in the building. So that's a quick overview of the site. Again, we think it's a great site, really going to function well. It does have a fair amount of topography. So we're working with that to make sure that we're considering retaining walls if necessary. We're showing here the expanded stormwater pond. The portion to the south is school district, and the portion, the little finger we're showing extending to the north, that's arbitrarily sized right now, but we'll work out with the civil engineers and others to make sure that that's appropriate. But I think everybody's feeling really good about the overall flow and function of the site, and are excited to get your feedback as we move further through the process. The next piece of the process we work through is the preliminary budgeting. So always an important part of a project. We validated our needs, as I mentioned earlier, and then we work through the conceptual site planning process. So what you see at in the first part of this budget is where the space program and needs verification efforts ended. So we ended around 57,000 square feet in total for PD, fire, municipal court, and the shared spaces. As you view these budgets, it's important to understand how we arrived there. Before we go there, I'll give you a little background. There is a new economy we're working in, as we all understand. So there has not been enough work bid during the COVID economy, and hopefully nearly in the future here, the post-COVID economy, to know exactly where construction pricing is going to go. Early indications, and we're hopeful that this continues, and you have experienced this as a village recently on some road projects and on the park projects, that we're seeing a slightly higher quantity and maybe a bit more aggressive bid climate. We haven't assumed that's going to continue within the budgets you're seeing. We're hoping it does, and if it does, you're going to benefit from that when the project is bid. We just don't feel confident, and there's not enough bidding happening yet to know exactly what the COVID economy is going to do. So this is conservative, and we're not assuming any positive impact for you as an owner on this budget yet. I'd also say that these budgets are subject to fluctuation. We haven't worked out every detail of the building plan. We haven't worked out every detail of the site. So as we continue to do that, these budgets may fluctuate a bit. But what you see on the screen is based on our experience doing public safety buildings, most recently a public safety building over in Mount Horeb. So we use that generally similar geography and generally similar contractor base to develop the budget you see in front of you. The budget really is what we view as generally all-inclusive. So this is not just a construction budget. We have included in the project soft costs fee assumptions, a 5% contingency you can see. we've assumed a furniture budget, that we're going to not just relocate all existing furniture, that there's going to be some new furniture needed. We've assumed approval fees and stormwater management fees and all the things and non-direct construction costs that we believe are going to be needed to complete the project. So those are the two line items you see on the bottom. Otherwise, if we could briefly scroll back up, the majority of the budget really is, as you can see, is in the general construction. It's in the building and constructing of the walls and the floors, ceilings, all the things, the roof, all the things that have to happen on the general architecture of the building. We've got line items for fixed equipment and specialty equipment, as you can see. These are summaries. This is cabinetry, casework, specialty equipment related to police and fire, such as compressors for the fire side, and evidence storage and evidence processing equipment, and all the different pieces that are specific and unique to PD and fire and EMS. We have assumed those within the specialty equipment and fixed equipment line items. Plumbing, fire protection, HVAC, electrical, those should be pretty straightforward, right? This is our bathrooms, our locker rooms, our hose, our fire hose fill equipment. Fire protection is the sprinkler system. HVAC is not only the heating and cooling and ventilation of our spaces, but on the fire side, it is the vehicle exhaust component for the apparatus bays. Electrical is really more than just outlets and light. This is site lighting. It is data cabling to offices. It's a wireless network system for the entire building. And it's some of the other technology that will be needed to support the operations of a municipal court and training room. And then the final item is the site improvement budget. A critically important piece, unique to every project, is not just a square foot cost applied. It really is looking at what is specific to your site. So utility run lengths, topography, requirements for retaining walls. The one thing we know is that fire apparatus are heavy, right? And they make a pretty significant impact on the site. So we have assumed the robust investment that is needed to create the aprons to appropriate to the weight and type of equipment that is going to be on the site. So in total, the budget is about $16.9 million as a total project cost for the project as currently programmed, with the site concept as currently laid out. We have also provided you with the detail that went into that. So there's following pages that you will see and will be included in your board packet that dig a little deeper and show you some of the assumptions that have been made. We're doing that because we want you to see that this was not just a number picked out of the air. We have spent a lot of time and used our expertise in doing public safety buildings, police and fire specifically, to build this budget. And as we move through further discussions, if you have questions on any of these assumptions as we move into the discussion down the road, we'll be happy to address those. But what we hope you're seeing here is that this is not a number picked from the air. This is a detailed cost estimate built from our experience, but also built with the many conversations that we've had with your stakeholder groups, PD, fire, municipal court, as influencing their needs to make sure this facility supports them not only today, but for years to come. The final topic today we wanted to review is the preliminary schedule. And there's a lot of meetings on here. There's a lot of dates on here. We actually have cut off all of the meetings that we've already had. So there's many, many more that happened leading up to this. But just a few dates to point out. So obviously we're preparing this in advance of your board retreat on the 20th. Another important meeting coming up will be a public meeting scheduled for Thursday, September 10th. We'll be doing a virtual open house to allow community members to see the concept plan and ask questions and better understand the proposed plan. And then a very important meeting is looking towards the September 28th village board meeting, where we will be seeking approval to proceed into phase 2. If that happens, and we're assuming and hoping that it will happen on September 28th, we will immediately move into the more detailed design phases through October all the way through April of 2021. So Basically, for the next roughly 6-7 months, we'll be working on construction documents, which is the super detailed development of plans, specifications, engineer drawings, interior design, and finish concepts. More meetings presenting this the project to likely not only you, but other village commissions and public meetings. But the end result would be releasing plans to the public to bid in May of 2021, receiving bids back in late May of 2021, allowing for construction to commence in June of 21, with completion of construction in June of 2022. So we're in a great place and a great position to move the project forward. Excited to continue the conversation with you, and again, hoping that approvals can fall into place so that we can get this project to bid at a really optimal time, which is spring, which allows the project to come out of the ground in the summer months, so we avoid winter construction costs and can look at a completion target of June of 2022. So with that, ask if there's anything, if any other team members have anything they'd like to add, feel free to jump on at this point. Otherwise, really would thank each of you as village board members for taking the time to preview this. And we're looking forward to working with you moving forward to implement a new public safety building to serve your community for decades to come.
Thank you, Matt. I think that was a good summary. Again, for the board's benefit, all of the information that he just went over is in your packet for review. If there's any member of the public that watches the video, it's also available to get from our website at www.mcfarland.wi.us. Again, this information will be presented to the village board as part of their retreat meeting on Thursday, August 20th, beginning at 5 p.m. Consult the agenda for other items on that agenda.